settle in and listen to our mixtape and now the music vanishes. Enjoy your butternut sandwiches.
Well, it's weird because I'm going to say it feels good to be back because it feels like it's been a while when really we've been releasing episodes, but it's been a while since we've recorded together. So it feels good to be back. Welcome to the mixtape. I'm Jason Emmett.
I'm Casey Masterpiece.
And I'm Twisted Kid Matt.
It does feel like it's been a while. Like
It's been a
it has.
while.
It's been a few weeks since we've actually recorded, and even longer since since the three of us have been together. So it's good to have KC back. We missed him.
With the googly-eyed slide whistle.
With his slide whistle. He put googly eyes on it. Yay!
Which, by the way, Ace has been practicing, so we might need to get him back on here for dueling slide whistles with KC.
Oh, dueling slide
Behind
whistles.
the funny. Some of our favorite people, good guys over there. Well, I don't want to go that far. Guys over there.
There's some guys.
There's some dudes.
They're all right. Yeah.
We should have them. We should have them on and do like a Twisted Kid with them. I think we've talked
That'd
about
be
it.
fun. So
yeah.
yeah.
A lot of fun. Lots of stuff been going on in our worlds, man. And we just did the Horror Hound thing happened, and that was a lot of fun. And the Lloyd screening happened, and that actually went really well. It was a lot of fun. And we got to meet some really cool people. We hung out with Ricky Glore. Ricky's got a movie coming out. Please go check it out. It's called Sweet Meats.
Yes.
I know if you go over to our Facebook page, he is selling copies of it along with some extras and stuff, I think. So anyway, a lot of stuff going on. We've been having a really good time and just meeting a lot of people. So the best way to find out about all that's through our social media, which you can find out by going to the website, which is yourmixtapeshow.com. And of course, we are on YouTube now. We have 2 channels on YouTube, and this one we have the mixtape channel, and then we have a sister channel now that is going to be dealing with mostly movies and things like that. So the mixtape channel is going to be all the mixtape stuff we do, and then we have the movie mix, which is the sister channel where we do film reviews, and we're going to be launching a new show there. Matt and I are. It's called Twisted Kid Real Talk, and it's going to be like a weekly 20-minute talk show where Matt and I discuss movies and upcoming movie properties and what we think. I think it'll be a lot of fun, so we welcome everybody over to that.
I'm the guest every week.
You're not the guest, you're the co-host. It's just Matt. So
I'm sitting on the couch that shows up, and Kevin's the house band.
One week he's like, he just puts on glasses. It's like Superman. We think he's somebody different. Actually, you are. When you take your glasses off, you would fool me if it wasn't for the beard.
Yeah. Shit.
He doesn't look like the same dude.
I don't look like the same person.
Hey, where's your eyes?
Oddly, you look a little.
I know
Asian.
they look smaller. Yeah, it's weird.
You look a little Asian. Do you happen to have any Asian in your family's history at all?
No.
No,
really?
just Caucasian. It's
He's just white Caucasian. Yeah.
White.
I'm very white.
I always
just white Viking blood.
My joke is
little Nigerian, actually, which is
my joke is we did a family crest thing, and it turns out my whole family is going to be shocking to you guys. They're all from the British Isles, like all of them, all my mom's side and my dad's. Like I'm so white, I'm basically transparent. Like you can fucking see through me. It's really hard to light me for the green screen.
There's a lot of adjusting before we hit record. Trust me, guys. It's bad.
It's pretty bad.
It just glows in the dark. It's like a fucking glowworm. You push him in the belly, and
we can't see. Somebody grab Jason. They shake me and just hold me up.
I mean, Conan O'Brien looks like Malcolm X compared to Jay. So
yeah, he cracks his back, and his entire body glows like a glow stick.
He cracks my back. I hate you guys so much.
We're back.
So we're gonna this week we actually had a discussion about what we wanted to talk about, and this is gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna go way 90s this week, like 90s splooge dripping all over this particular show, man.
Gross.
So much about this list that we're gonna be talking about today takes me right back to my child, and I think it's going to for you guys as well. I hope you guys really feel the nostalgia in this one, not just the people listening at home, but you two as well, because this one's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about movies from the 90s, this time around, all 90s, based off of comic books. No MCU stuff here, though. These are films based off of comic books. Some of them you're going to know, and love, and some of them you're not going to know that it came from it. You're going to be like, holy shit, that was a comic book, and you're going to hate them. But we're going to have a lot of fun regardless. And we're going to kick off the list with one of my favorites. Like, I love this movie so much. We're going to talk about 1991's The Rocketeer. I love The Rocketeer. Like I said, this is one of my favorite films from the 90s. I remember going to the theater and seeing this and just being like, this is a really cool movie. Honestly, it didn't do gangbusters as far as money, but I know that critics and fans liked it quite a bit. So this was a Disney movie. Disney gave us this one. This is the story of Cliff Secord, played by Billy Campbell. He stumbles across a rocket pack, and a group of Nazis are actually trying to steal this rocket pack as part of their plan to dominate the world. Right? This takes place in the early 40s. By the way, it actually it might even be in the late 30s. It's pre the major World War II stuff. Yeah. Also starring in this movie, we have Alan Arkin. It's so weird to see Alan Arkin in this movie too, because I don't know, he's
like forever old.
He is.
Yeah.
He's been old in everything.
But I'm so used to him without hair, because all his later stuff he doesn't have any
including
hair.
Mustache.
He looks constantly 60.
He really does. And then we have the ever lovely Jennifer Connelly, who I think most of us had a crush on, especially
Chef Kiss, yes.
In the 90s.
Career opportunities.
Oh my God, so much so, yeah. And of course, the other guy that I think we all had.
Real quick, I'm looking at her now and thinking of a recast on that one. Maybe Black Widow back in the day. That would have
been good. Yeah, maybe in the 90s, not some 1980s. But and then we have another person we all had a crush on, which was Timothy Dalton. Listen, he was James Bond, actually, and Timothy Dalton was a cool dude. Unfortunately, some of his Bond movies didn't hit, and I think that hurt him a lot. But I really like Timothy Dalton as an actor. I think he's a cool.
He's great in Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah, he plays a good bad guy. He plays a really good villain, and he's a Nazi in this. Spoiler alert! Because he's an actor in this. You don't. It's guys. This is from 1991. So, The Rocketeer is actually based off a 1982 run of comics created by a guy named Dave Stevens. Dave Stevens created the character in 1981 after he was approached by Steve and Bill Shanes, the founder of Pacific Comics. Stevens was really into Art Deco and that Americana style, and he also really loved this film series from the 1950s, an old serial film series from the 50s called Commander Cody, which is so funny because Commander Cody is almost identical to the Rocketeer.
Right.
If you've ever watched any of the old Commander Codys, it's great. He'll like run and jump, and then they show just the front view of him when he's flying. But Commander Cody's from the 50s, it's these old serials they would play, and he's a rocket pack guy. He flies around on a rocket pack. So anyway, he sold the film rights to the Rocketeer in 1982, and eventually Disney produced the film, although Stevens often said it was the Rocketeer in name only, and a lot of the storyline was changed to market it towards families. I've never read the comics, so I don't really know how much of it was changed or wasn't changed. Anyway, after Stevens passed away in 2008, IDW picked up publishing rights, and they actually continue to make Rocketeer storylines today. So the first thing is I've kind of expressed how much I love the Rocketeer. I'm sure both of you have seen this.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
This
Many
seems
times.
like Kevin movie. Like, this seems like a movie Kevin would have liked a lot as a kid.
It was a cool ass movie. And also this movie brought the comeback of pinup model Betty Page, I believe.
So very much so. It did. Yeah. So in the comic books, Jennifer Connelly's character, if I'm not mistaken, is Betty Page. But they changed it in the movie for rights kind of issue stuff. So I think in the comic books, I think her name is Betty Page. That, since you mentioned that, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And because of just legally stuff, they changed her in the movie. I think this was one of those movies that got a little forgotten about because it came out right about the time of like Terminator 2 and stuff. So it kind of got beat in the box office.
That sounds about right.
This was a really fun movie. Matt, I assume you saw this.
Oh, have I got a story for you?
So I don't know. Have you?
Have I seen this movie? Yes, I've seen this movie. I've seen it so many times that when I was a child, I made a Rocketeer costume.
That's awesome.
I made a rocket pack out of cardboard, a helmet out of cardboard, and I was running around, probably way too old to be doing this. Ran around in my backyard
11.
as a Rocketeer. I was about 11, yeah.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
10 or
Love-
11.
Yeah, 11's fine. Now, if you would have
This
said like
is-
17,
I mean,
Nah, that's fine too.
Now, having said that, as an adult, I do have plans to 3D print a Rocketeer helmet. That is something I've been working
I've
on.
looked at some of those. Yeah, they're fantastic, man. They're great.
Yep.
So I've actually watched people who have taken 2-liter bottles, cut them, painted
Oh,
them,
yeah.
and other stuff to make the jetpack as well.
Oh,
Then you just need the jacket, man, because that jacket's cool. It's like the flight
Oh,
jacket,
yeah.
with buttons down the side.
I just had like a
Mhm.
windbreaker or something when I was a kid. You know. By the way, this is like the most white trash Rocketeer costume ever. I was just like, hell yeah, I got a fucking windbreaker. Probably said Marlboro on the front. You know.
It's Faygo
My
bottles.
dad got it from smoking a lot. Did you say Faygo bottles? Dude, they were vests. Come on, man. It was great value. Sam's
Great.
choice. Yeah.
What is it, Mr.
Dr. Thunder.
Dr.
Yeah,
Thunder.
Dr. Thunder, Mr. Pibb.
So good. Mr. Pepper, because he didn't
He didn't graduate.
he
Didn't get
never
his
got a
doctorate.
doctorate. I think
It's
the
Mr.
Rocketeer-
Pibb. My
There's
dad's
been a-
Dr. Pibb.
There's been a lot of talk about a possible remake or a Disney Plus series. I think this would be a really cool Disney Plus series.
It would be a cool series.
Real quick, there is a Disney Plus series. It's animated. There's an
Cartoon.
animated Rocketeer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
a
would love to
female
see,
Rocketeer as well.
I would love to see a live action of this done again. Because
If
the
he
effects
somehow
are great.
joins the Marvel universe.
Yeah, joins the MCU. Yeah. that'd be
There
Yeah.
are
great.
some really good effects in this. The flight scenes aren't great. They were at the time. They were really good.
Mhm.
They're not so great now. But the scene where they're like on the
The
dirigible,
Hindenburg.
it's
The
not
dirigible. Yeah.
as that thing blows up and they're running across it and stuff. That scene's really
With
cool.
the
That was pretty
great
cool.
Rondo Hatton look-alike in that too, by the way.
That dude, are you talking about the big guy?
Yeah.
That dude, I quote this
The
movie
guy with
all
the
the
fucking
time, and,
wrench. God.
and no one knows what I'm talking about because I'll look at people and go, "Where is it? Where is the rocket?" And everybody looks at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, where is it? Rocketeer, though. I assume a lot of people. I don't know if people knew this was based off a comic book series or not, but it was.
I didn't until way later. I was just
Yeah.
like, that's a cool movie.
And I want to
Yeah.
be very specific. There are movies that have come out that then they made a comic book out. These are ones that the comic book is the inspiration for the movies. So that's
Mhm.
that's very important. The next one we kind of have to talk about. Everybody, I think, knew this came from a comic book, but we're going to be talking about 1994, and we're going to be talking about The Crow.
Bro.
Still a fantastic movie. There's a lot going on with The Crow right now. We've released some videos because the Bill Skarsgård version is coming out. Let's just go ahead and say this really quick. I think the previews for that one look really good. I've let my thoughts be known on videos if you want to go watch them on YouTube. I just don't think they should have called his character Eric Draven. They should have called it something else. I don't think they should have tried to redo the Eric Draven storyline. That being said, this movie came out in 1994. It was wonderful. I loved this movie so
Yeah.
much. This one starred Brandon Lee. It was directed by Alex Proyas. What a cool movie. This is the story of Eric Draven, like I just said, a musician who, along with his fiancee, is murdered by a group of ne'er-do-wells. That's what we're going to call them, ne'er-do-wells.
Ne'er-do-wells. Mischief makers.
They're kind of like a gang.
Scalawags.
Yeah.
Eric Draven
Rapscallions.
is
Mm.
hey there, see? That would have been a totally different movie.
Just a couple of guys who were up to no good that
They
started
should
making
do a
trouble in the
Crow. They
neighborhood.
should do a Crow movie in the 50s though, with like a greaser, and that would actually be really cool.
That would actually be
With the
fucking cool as
Rocketeer
hell.
showing up.
Yeah.
The rocker tier. That's
The
even
Rocketeer. Yeah, he lands, takes off his helmet, combs his hair.
combs his hair, his pompadour,
Rockabilly
It's
style.
perfect.
It's
It's
like,
perfect even
What's
in the
up, you
helmet.
cool cats?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm gonna fly over here and beat up this sucker.
Yeah.
I don't know what I just
it became a blaxploitation movie after that.
I totally did. So Eric Draven is actually brought back to life to avenge the murders, and he's led by a crow who grants him powers. It sounds weird, but if you know the storyline, it actually works. It's based off a 1989 comic of the same name. That comic series was created by James O'Barr. There are some minor differences, and the movie's given more plot, which makes sense. The comic book is a lot darker. He's a lot more brooding, and it's straight up just violence in the comic. Like, they don't give as much. Here's what happened. Eric, go kill them. That's pretty much what happens in the comic. So they do give a little more storyline in the movie. But to me, they really nail the look of Eric Draven in the movie from the comic book. Just if you compare the two, it just really works. And that's part of the thing. I think the problem people are having with the Bill Skarsgård one, he doesn't look at all like him. Like I said, the comic's way more dark. It's a little more. It's actually very emo. It's very emo.
Lots of zeros and ones.
It was 1989. You could only get it when they emailed it to you. It was very emo.
It's in the background.
There's actually a lot of even like self-mutilation and stuff in the comic books, which does not happen in the movie. Thank God. They don't make him quite as he's just not quite as dark in the movie. The comics are really, really dark. If you've never checked them out, they're really good. But The Crow is still one of my favorite movies. I didn't like any of the sequels. And I think Matt and I have talked about this a lot when we keep saying we're going to do an episode of movies that suck, but check out the soundtrack. and
yeah,
the Crow
soundtrack
movies.
is so good.
City
the
of
Crow
the
soundtrack
Crow soundtrack
for the
is great,
first is fantastic. It matches the movie perfectly.
Yeah.
Crow City of Angels, the sequel, the soundtrack is far better than the movie itself. I barely remember the movie, but the soundtrack is really good.
Soundtrack is so good.
I don't know if there's soundtracks for the other movies.
Probably.
And I'm very, very interested to see what they do for the soundtrack for this new remake.
Interested in seeing a lot. I really
if it's garbage, I have no hope for the movie at that point, because I think they're so connected to me.
I want to get back to that in just a second, but first I want to ask you, obviously you've seen The Crow, right, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the 94 Crow movie?
I honestly think it's one of the best movies in the 90s. That's one of my opinions on it. I bought I had so many Crow t-shirts when I was growing up. It was like it hit at like just the right time for me. 94, I would have been in like 8th grade.
My senior year.
Yeah. And I had a white shirt that had the Crow emblem on it, and on the back it said something like "It can't rain all the time" or something. Just quotes from the movies. And I had just one that was black with the movie poster on it. Just it was such a good movie, and
spoke to you.
It did. Like I didn't know the history of Brandon Lee. Like I knew that he died during the filming of the movie, but I didn't know that this was supposed to be like his breakout role and all that. But
he'd done
a
couple others. Showdown in Little Tokyo, which is not a great movie, but that's with him and Dolph Lundgren, as a matter of fact. And then he did one called Rapid Fire, which Rapid Fire is actually a pretty decent movie. And that was kind of like his big kind of first, like, okay, Rapid Fire, people kind of started paying attention. And yes, The Crow was supposed to be the one to launch him, and it would have launched him.
It would have.
I mean, it did.
I mean,
if you think about it, it did. He just didn't. He wasn't around to enjoy it. So
yeah,
not to make it dark, but
well, the same thing happened.
He would have survived. I mean, he would have just blew up. I mean,
I think so.
Like, what other movies he would have been in?
I think so too. He would have been a huge 90s action star. He just would have. And I think he had the chops to do more than just action too. It's really sad because his dad never got to enjoy the success of
they had the Lee curse.
His kind of like big breakthrough American movie, which was Enter the Dragon, which people don't always know that he actually passed away before it premiered, and he never got to see this breakthrough movie. And then the same thing happened to Brandon, which really sucked. So it's funny what you just said though about how hard this hit you in the 90s. This has been part of my issue. This movie is very encapsulated by the 90s. I don't know how well it would, like, I understand they have to update stuff. I think it holds up well, but I don't know if they could have made, that's why I don't think they should try to make Eric Draven's story again, because this was, it was almost like a 90s music video, the way it was filmed, the way it looked and felt, and it's just gritty and done very 90s aesthetic. And it works so well. And I don't know that this story works as well outside of the 90s, even though I don't know that it took place in the 90s. That we really don't know when it takes place. I assume it was kind of a future kind of a post-apocalyptic, almost, but not quite apocalyptic kind of thing.
It's definitely dystopian.
Yeah,
Like no matter
so-
what time period it takes place in, it's definitely
yes, very much
an
so.
alternate universe, basically. Like
So, Kev,
where
what do you-
everything's just on fire every year on Halloween.
You know, I am
your thoughts on
ashamed.
The Crow?
I am
Huh?
ashamed to admit this, but I've never seen The Crow.
Oh,
I've
damn.
seen a lot of
Dude,
yeah.
you would love it.
I definitely. It's one of those movies that I really need to sit down and check it out. It's
Yeah,
Got
it's
Ernie Hudson in it
Ernie Hudson is in it.
in a non-Ghostbusters role.
Is it, I do saw Michael Wincott plays the bad guy, and he's it's so weird because his brother Jeff Wincott is a martial artist and was in all these like martial art movies, and then Michael Wincott always plays that like really evil bad guy in everything because he's got that voice and that look about him, and he's just like. Iggy Pop was supposed to be in this. He ends up in the second one because he couldn't be in this one. He was supposed to play Fun Boy.
Yeah, Fun Boy.
And he couldn't be in it for reasons. If you see it, the guy makes sense that like you could totally see Iggy Pop, and they ended up putting him in the second movie, unfortunately for Iggy.
Yeah, if I remember, Fun Boy in the comic was actually based off Iggy Pop, which is why they wanted to get him.
I believe so. Yeah, there's and that's the thing. And so far in the new movie, I went and checked like on IMDb, and none of them have like 1010 Fun Boy. They don't have the names either. Bad guys.
I wonder if okay, and this is something pure speculation. I wonder if they put it out there that it was going to be Eric Draven just to get people riled up to get
100%.
get it going, and then like when the movie comes out, it's not Eric Draven.
Oh no,
it's a
Eric
different
Draven.
story, just similar.
But they used the Draven name for that reason, though. They instead of making it a different character, they used it because of name recognition. But I don't think they should have done it. The Crow is such that this is Eric Draven's run in the comics. Once it's over, it gets handed on to a new person. It's always a different person, so you could literally start anywhere and pick anyone. So I don't think they should have done it. But that being
so, one other thing before we move on from the Crow, something I learned when we were talking about the Matrix a while back. The person who took over for Brandon Lee in the Crow when he passed away was the stunt guy, the stunt coordinator on the Crow, who went on to be Keanu Reeves's stunt double in the Matrix series,
and directed John Wick, right?
Directs all the John Wick movies now. He's gone on to do all that, so it's all the same guy. So the same person went from being Brandon Lee's stunt double to Keanu Reeves' stunt double, and is now directing some of the biggest action movies of all time.
Yeah.
So
Brandon Lee would have made a great Neo.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been cool as hell, actually.
Tangent. Do you know who was supposed to play Neo?
Will Smith.
We talked about
Smith. Yeah.
We talked about that in the show.
Yeah, well, not everybody knows that. They don't listen. And they should, but they
know.
Yeah.
We
and
know
why don't
slap.
you? You need to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Do all the stuff
Wherever
that's
it's
popping
at.
up on the screen.
It's there somewhere. I think it's down there. I don't know. All right, guys. Next, we're moving ahead a year. We're going to go to 1995, and we're going to talk about Judge Dredd from 1995. I am the law.
Judge Dredd.
It was fun.
This movie, believe
Why
it or
are
not,
our
gets
voices
the
cracking when we talk about this movie?
It
was okay.
I am the law.
I still haven't seen this movie all the way through.
Those are
I've
the
seen
famous
pieces, but
words
that's about it.
spoken by Sylvester Stallone in 1995 as the character of Judge Dredd. So we all know Sylvester Stallone portrayed the character of Judge Dredd in the Danny Cannon directed version of the film. This was based off a comic book, which I had never heard of, but it's called 2080 Comics. I'd never heard of them. I don't know when they were, but actually, I'm sorry, I don't know who they were, but probably because they were really early on, these comic books came out. The first thing I want to state is it did take the storyline almost directly from the comics, but they did tone down the brutality of the character quite a bit. They also had him take his helmet off a bunch in the movie, which is just never happens in the comic books. I guess that pissed off a lot of fans. He does it almost immediately in the movies, like take the helmet off. Like, I can't have this damn thing on. You got to see my beautiful face because I'm sly.
Take that, nerds.
Yeah.
We don't stick with the source material. Suck it.
In full honesty, though, guys, the look of the movie is actually fairly faithful to the comic book series. They kept a lot of, like, literally side-by-side comparisons with a lot of the things in the movie to the comics made sense. The comic was actually created by a guy named John Wagner and artist Carlos Escuera. And the character first appeared in the second issue of 2000 AD Comics in 1977. So that'll tell you, 47 years old this thing is. And yeah, so it's been around for a while, which is probably why I didn't know anything about the comic books. So I don't know. So in 2012, they released, in my opinion, an awesome reboot of the Judge Dredd series called Dredd. And that one starred Carl Urban. And this one kind of got right what things the first one didn't. First of all, he never takes his helmet off. He barely speaks, and it is brutal. This movie is brutally violent and awesome. John Wagner actually didn't like the 95 version, but he did like the 2012 version quite a bit. And he's one of the creators. So he said, I liked the movie. It was, unlike the first film, a true representation of Judge Dredd. Carl Urban was a fine Dredd, and I'd be more than happy to see him in the follow-up. Also, Olivia Thirlby was excellent as Anderson. The character and storyline are pure Dredd. Have you guys... Okay, so let's start with the 95 version. I assume Kevin has already expressed what he thought of it, so I assume, Kevin, you have in fact seen Judge Dredd.
I've seen it, yeah.
And what'd you think of it? Like, when you saw it, there's a lot of, yeah.
That was a loaded...
I had a good time.
Yeah, it's just
It was
cheesy.
a movie.
It's cheesy, and I think fans...
It
really love
exists. Yes.
Like, I think people going into the movie who had no expectations were like, it's not bad, but people who were comic fans of the series were just pissed, I think. Matt, have you seen the original Judge Dredd from 1995?
Not all the way through. I've seen little bits and pieces, and I get some of the references that people make to it, but I need to just sit down and watch it.
Have you seen the 2012 one?
No, I haven't seen that at all. I own it.
You would love it, and you should watch it. It's really good.
I've heard it's fantastic. Yeah.
The problem with the 90, you should watch them out of order. You should watch the 2012 one first, because then you could go back to the 95 one and you would see the problems I think people had. It's like, this is what it's supposed to be.
Right.
This is and there's a lot of jokes and just stuff in it that shouldn't be in it. And he's he's not mean enough. He's not tough enough. He's not hard enough on people. What's funny is, like I said, the storyline from the first movie is directly out of the comics. It's actually happens in the comics. The characters in it are right from the comics, but they just tone everything down. It should be brutally violent. They are, in the future, the judges. They are judge, jury, and executioner. They are the police. They come out. If you break the law, they right there in front of you decide what your punishment is, and you're punished right there. And a lot of times it's death. So you can imagine. But I think it was one of those things where
some might say it's a statement on the criminal justice system and why it takes so long to get anything done.
Sylvester Stallone wasn't a horrible choice. I think he really wanted to do it.
Probably.
But I think
he's like, but if I'm doing it, I'm not wearing this stupid helmet.
And that's my point. You won't see
terrible Sylvester
Stallone. You will not
Stallone
see Carl Urban's face in the movie. He wears.
He's got a great frown, though. I know that.
It's a scowl.
It's a scowl.
Sure. I love Carl Urban, and I think he does a really good job with it. Yeah, you should check these out, Matt. Both of them, actually. Maybe we'll do a Twisted Kid on the 95 one.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be a fun watch. I don't think you'll hate it, but you will see the cheese in it. It's like, it's definitely a 90s toned down version. It's kind of like Steel versus the comic book of Steel.
Okay.
Like, what were you thinking? Oh, no, it's not as bad as Steel.
Okay.
Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah,
not
like
how do these two properties relate? They really don't. I'm a big fan of Carl Urban, and I think he has proven he can do just about anything because he's a great Dr. McCoy, but then he's a great tough guy. It's like, how can this dude go from Bones McCoy to like The Boys? And like and he sells it, man.
I haven't seen that either.
The Boys?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that either.
You had a look on your face when I said Dr. McCoy. You didn't know he was.
I haven't seen the new Star Treks.
Oh God, yeah, and he's great. He's perfect.
Does a really good job. Yes,
he's so good. Like he might be one of the best casts people in it. He nails it.
It's almost like he cares about the roles he takes, because all the press that I have seen him do press for Dread, having not seen the movie, and he, in one of the interviews, he put the helmet on and did part of the interview as Dread.
So he didn't
And
talk.
he
He
just
just sat there and
he just
scowled.
had the, you know, I was like, that's perfect. Yeah,
He
like
talks. He
this
just
guy
doesn't talk much.
cares. Yeah, he cares about what he's doing. So,
Yeah. I like him a lot. I think Carl Urban is a really good actor, and I think he fits pretty much every role I've seen him take over. So, all right. So we're gonna step up to 1997 in a film that we're gonna say is controversial in what people's thoughts are on it. We are gonna talk about 1997's
Ooh.
Spawn. This one starred Michael Jai White in the title role, perfectly
AKA
cast,
Kevin.
in
Yeah.
my opinion. Buff Kevin, yeah.
Hey, man.
Perfectly cast, in my opinion, like just perfectly cast in this film. We also got John Leguizamo, who, in my opinion, nailed Spawn.
Fantastic.
Like, I don't know if you could have got much better than
Yeah.
John Leguizamo. Now, a lot of people complain, but I think he was perfect.
Perfect.
Martin Sheen and a few other people are in this movie as well. Martin Sheen plays kind of the bad guy in it.
Who I thought
So
was too old for the role, but he did a decent
he
job.
did okay. Yeah, he did okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's not alone as the solo bad guy, and obviously
True.
we have a lot of bad guys in this movie with Malboja and Clown and Violator and all this and that. So the plot of this movie: Al Simmons is a dude who does jobs for the military others don't want to do. He's killed while infiltrating a chemical plant in North Korea. Turns out he was set up and killed by his own people. He goes to hell and is offered a deal by Malboja. Malboja wants him to lead the devil army to Armageddon. That's what he wants from Spawn.
You know, like you do.
And it, yeah, it happens all the time.
Old chestnut.
In exchange, he's allowed to return to Earth to see his wife, but he ends up kind of turning his back on him and hunting down the people who killed him, and he becomes a very dark superhero in the turn of things. This comic book was created by the now infamous Todd McFarlane. Here's what's really cool: he created it when he was 16, but it didn't release as a series until 1992. And this happened after he parted ways with Marvel, because he had a lot of problems with Marvel, I guess, because he's always been infamously, he's one of the his turn on Spider-Man was like people loved his take on Spider-Man, but
Yep.
he always wanted to go a lot darker with stuff.
Was that Spider-Man 99? Or 1999 or 1099 or something like that?
No. It was like the regular Spider-Man.
He just did regular Spider-Man, yeah.
Mhm.
But did he create Venom?
It seems like he did.
Or
I
did
think
he just create a run of
did.
Venom that became so popular? I don't remember, but people loved McFarlane.
Mm.
The comic book, when he released it, so he kind of released it as a kind of an independent comic thing. They like started their own thing. It was such a massive success that
Got it up right now.
it is given. Spawn has been given credit as being the comic book that reignited the flame of comics for people. Like, people wanted to start reading comics again, so it started drawing in. Comics always had their fans, but Spawn started pulling people back in. Like, people wanted to read comics again. I was amongst them, and many of my friends.
Oh, the 90s, man, it was a hot time for comics.
So I looked it up, and Todd McFarlane is the original creator of Venom. So
I thought that sounded right in my head, but then I started questioning myself, like, did Venom come out earlier and he just kind of perfected him? But that does make sense. That it's such a McFarlane character to create Venom is. So that's what I was saying, though. This reignited like people wanting to read comics again, and it like relit that flame. So the movie, one of the complaints the movie got was it was way less dark than the graphic novels were, which at the time made sense since comic book movies were not largely successful and they were trying to reach a larger audience. At first, they had said this was going to be rated R, but it ended up being rated PG-13. The problem with that is it's Spawn. And Spawn is very dark, very, very dark. The comics are very dark, and they actually released an animated series on HBO. If you've never watched it, it is worth watching. It is so good, but it's dark. They leave storylines out of the original run for the movie. Like, there's a whole subplot about a guy running around in a ice cream truck kidnapping and murdering children that he goes
Yeah.
after as well. All that is in that original line. That'll tell you how dark it is. I actually don't personally think that the movie is as terrible an adaptation as a lot of people do. I enjoyed it, but it's just a watered down version.
Mhm.
So that's always been kind of my issue. So some really cool stuff. I said that I don't know where we are on the pictures, but I do know that we had a couple in here. One of them, for example, I said that he created Spawn when he was 16 years old. That is the original drawing of Spawn right there.
Oh my
That
God.
is he drew that picture of Spawn when he was 16, and then he took years to just perfect it and recreate it and make it into what he ended up wanting it to be. So I think it's really cool that he created the character when he was so young.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like
yeah,
you went from this to this.
yeah, and I
Right.
can't draw
That
like
is-
that now.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing at 16, I'm like, I wish I could do that today, but I cannot. Um, so what are your guys' thoughts on the Spawn film? First of all, another soundtrack that is wonderful, fantastic
We
soundtrack.
discussed it on here actually.
Totally check out the Spawn soundtrack.
Mm.
What are your guys' feelings on? I saw Kevin kind of lit up when he saw that we were going to be talking about Spawn. Does that
I
mean you like the movie?
I like the movie, and I do realize it wasn't like 100% truthful to the source material, but it was a
It's
fun movie.
it's not that it's not. It follows the source material pretty closely for the most
Mm.
part. They change a few things like some characters' names, and there were reasons for that. The Jessica Priest versus Jesse Chapel thing. There were reasons they had to do that. It's just really watered down versions of the actual. Like it's
Yeah.
way less dark and violent than the comics. But I
Mhm.
agree with you. I think it's a fun movie. It's some bad CG, but you know, it was
Early
early.
days of
It
CG,
really was.
yeah.
Matt, I know you like soundtrack. What are your thoughts on the movie?
I've heard the soundtrack more than I've seen the movie, to be honest.
That's fair.
And it's not that I didn't like the movie, it's that I haven't finished the movie. I have
Okay.
a lot of movies where I've started the movie and then it either just didn't grab my attention or keep me awake, which, kind of the same thing. But um, I just, for whatever reason, at the time when I tried to sit down to watch this, when it came out, it wasn't really my thing. Could have been part of my, religious background at the
There's a
time.
lot of hell in this.
Because
Yeah.
I tended at the time I
Chock
tended to
full of
avoid
hell.
things like that.
Um,
So that could be why. But now that I'm a complete heathen, I'll sit down and watch it again and
King of
probably
the
be like, hell yeah, Satan and stuff.
Here's the thing.
That's
This-
a new merch right there.
This
Hell
movie's
yeah, Satan
hell
and
yeah,
stuff.
Satan and stuff. It's a
Yeah.
new T-shirt. This movie's rated PG-13. I don't even know that. Like, I'd have to watch it again, but I don't even think today it would be rated. I think this would be a straight PG movie.
Yeah.
But I could be off on
Spawn on Disney Plus.
that. What do you guys think of? They're supposedly remaking it into an R-rated movie.
That's what I've
now
been
they're
hearing.
working
Yeah,
on it. For a while, it was Jamie Foxx. They were talking, but I've never
that'd be
liked
cool.
that.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with Jamie,
It-
no, see, he's too old, and it
Right.
you just like if you're going to do that, just put Michael Jai White back in it. Like seriously, if
Mhm.
you're going to use Jamie Foxx, just put Michael Jai White back in it. But I think they need to find somebody younger that could run the character longer. And I don't even know if it's still going to be Jamie Foxx now after everything that's happened, and it's been a few years too. I'm really down for this because we're starting to see the R-rated.
This
Like
is me
action
trying to
hero
think who
movies.
could play Spawn.
I don't know. I think there's a few people that could probably pull it off, and some people that you're probably just not even thinking of. We'd have to go through it and think, but I think we're starting to get R-rated action movies, hero movies, and they're working. In fact, they're working better than some of the regular ones now. You figure Logan and Daredevil, were such big hits.
It's almost like
Not
when
Daredevil,
those
I'm sorry,
comics came
Deadpool.
out.
Daredevil, the series is
Ooh,
really dark
that was
as well.
really good.
Who
It's not really
who
rated.
played Killmonger in Black Panther?
Oh,
What's his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael
Yes.
B. Jordan.
He'd be
He'd
great.
be really good. Yeah.
Mhm.
He has
He'd
the
be
right
good.
attitude, the right
Yeah.
look, and
Right.
but yeah,
He'd
he
be
would
really good, actually.
Mhm.
I like
and I
that.
would like to see him get more roles. I mean, it sucked for us. He was great as Killmonger. Unfortunately, in the MCU, it was great to have him in there, but he gets killed off. And much like another character, he got to play 2 characters in the Marvel universe,
Mhm.
and both of these people played that other character. Do you know who it
Yep.
was? Obviously, you both do.
Let's see. The Human Torch was the
Johnny Storm
superhero. Yeah,
Mhm.
Johnny Storm.
was
And it
first
was
played by Chris Evans,
Chris
Evans,
Evans,
right?
who's Captain America.
and then played by Michael B. Jordan, who
Mhm.
is Killmonger. Yeah. And unfortunately for him, that version is not nothing he did. Just the movie's really bad.
Yeah,
I've heard.
that's one I sat through somehow. I
I
don't
did
know how I
too.
did it. Yeah,
I don't know. I was in a car
Fantastic.
ride. We were driving to Florida, and I watched it. In
Oh,
the
that's
car.
why you had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, I was like, I
Nothing
might
else
as
to
well
do.
sit through this crap. I do. I welcome a remake of Spawn. I think it would be done really well now, especially if you get the right people on board. And yeah, it was.
And
But I don't.
I will
hate
say
in the
this:
look of the movie, his costume is
the
fantastic.
practical effects,
So
the
good.
practical costume looks really good.
The practical costumes are great. The CGI is not.
CGI, if they did the practical effects today, like Marvel is doing,
Mm.
and then merged it with CGI to enhance things like the cape,
Make
Yeah.
this movie
that'd be
do
great.
exactly what they did in the first version, which is like you just said, because the cape kind of has a life of its own. Only now we would get a cape kind of like Doctor Strange's cape. It would work so much better. Keep the costume practical, make the cape and even clown, because he looks so good.
Dude.
I heard that
John
was
Leguizamo.
Yeah,
I think he should
deserves
still
an
play
award.
clown, but
That'd be
Yeah.
great, and I think he'd be down to do it. He'd be down to
Mhm.
clown.
and he has one of my favorite. Like I quote him a lot
Nice.
in this too, which was
Kevin got
S
that.
to the P to the
Yeah.
A to the 1, S to the P to the A to the on. Go Spawny. Go I love it so much. He's so good. I love John Leguizamo. He can do no wrong. Put him in the MCU, damn
Except for the pest.
Right.
it. There are still some endearing things about that horrible movie too. The movie's bad.
I'll
Listen,
let you and Troy from Not a Bomb discuss that.
listen, man. It's a bad movie, but he's endearing. So is look, Mario Brothers is a bad movie too, but he's endearing. You know,
Yeah.
he's John Leguizamo. We love him even if we hate the movie. It's just
It
sort of
was
the way
great in
works.
Kalito's way. You know.
Love the artist, hate the art is
what-
usually the
What's the
opposite.
Son of Sam movie?
Oh, Summer of Sam.
Summer of Sam. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
really good in
He's
that
great
too.
in that.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's great in everything. Oh God,
That's another one
Romeo
they
and
could give a
Juliet.
rewatch.
John
Yeah.
Wick.
Romeo and Juliet. John Wick. He's good in everything, even the bad
That
movies.
Santa
He's
movie
good.
that just came out not too long ago.
Um.
Can't think of that. The name of that movie. It's pretty good actually.
Okay, guys, we're going to 1996, and we're not going to talk long about this one for so many reasons. But we're gonna we're gonna talk about a movie that came out from Dark Horse Comics,
Yeah.
1996, Barbed Wire.
And also be glad that Stu is not on this episode because
Oh no, he hates
Yeah.
he hates this movie. He hates
Yeah,
it.
but it's got
Really?
Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
He
And
knows
she's got
her
boobs.
work.
So you're right. The film starred the extremely talented P-list celebrity Pam Anderson.
P list. More like B for Baywatch.
Oh, P for porn star, because like that's what she got very famous.
Eventually. Yeah.
So she plays Barbed Wire, the owner of a nightclub who also happens to be a bounty hunter / merc for hire. Oh, whatever.
You know.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
mythical world of Barbed Wire takes place in 2017 after a second civil war. There's a weird story regarding a cop who's after some scientist.
Yeah, all right.
Wait a minute. Want to
I
pause
know.
there for a minute?
They were a little early.
Hmm.
Mm.
There's a weird storyline about a cop who's after some scientist with a bioweapon, et cetera, et cetera. This movie straight up bombed at the box office. Like it did really bad. It did win a bunch of Razzies though, and it has like a 28% on Rotten
There's
Tomatoes.
that.
We are going to do this as
Yeah,
a Twisted Kid at some
That's
point.
this one's
And here's
planned
why.
already.
I've never seen it.
I've never
Neither
seen it
have
either.
I.
Yeah,
I've seen
that's why it
still
bombed in the box
images.
office, guys.
That's all I'm gonna say.
That's why it did really bad. Nobody went and saw it. As for the comic was created by Chris Warner and his team over at CGW. The character first appeared in 1993 in the comic series Greatest World Steel Harbor. There you go. I don't know much about
That's rolls right off the tongue there.
it. Well, Greatest World was the name of the comic series, I think, and Steel Harbor is the town that it takes place in. The original series published 9 issues between 1994 and 1995. The comic deals with aliens, wormholes, and alternate realities. Pam Anderson sort of looked like the part, so I guess that's why they cast her in it. Seriously, I don't know any other reason why
Like
they
she's
would have.
blonde with a chest. Okay,
But
cool.
here's the
She'll
thing.
do.
By all accounts, this comic is kind of cool and people really like it. And I think they could redo this today with like Chloe Grace Moretz or Margot Robbie or somebody in the role of Barb and actually do it justice, because that's the other problem. I guess, again, just very toned down version of what the comic was.
If you got Margot Robbie, you'd have to do a double feature of Barbed Wire and Barbie and just call it Barbie Wire. And that's just the way you would have to market that.
I would like to see like Chloe Grace Moretz personally, like someone a
Yeah.
little younger who isn't, I like her a lot and she does action well and she was Hit Girl for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
And I think she has the right attitude. They could redo this. I think
Another
redo
movie
Barbed
based
Wire
off a comic book.
and do it right.
Kick ass.
Do it right. Like do it right. Like I've never, I just hear it's really hokey. Look, again, like Steel, it was a 90s thing where they knew because of Batman, they wanted to make these movies, but nobody was getting it right. They were just putting it out there and thinking, oh, it's a superhero, it'll do well. Also, people were very disrespectful to superheroes and the superhero genre and comic books readers back then.
True.
People made fun of them and they didn't realize how many fans there really were.
Right.
And I think today, living in 2024, we see the geek culture has risen. Like it's like, no, so many people are into cosplay and the geek will inherit. Oh, and they let people know, like people are into cosplay and comic books and all this stuff, and it's okay. And now you see like fucking hot girls in cosplay and buff dudes, and it's like it's okay for everybody. But this was not the case in
Not just
the 90s.
chubby fat guys who wear black t-shirts all the time. Not just them.
Yeah, people tried to make fun of us for liking graphic novels and stuff, but hey.
And if you're watching the video, I'm pretty sure we're all wearing black shirts. And
I'm wearing
a gray one.
Look at okay, we're going to justify it. Yeah.
I'm wearing a Jurassic Park 1993 shirt, so just
a lot of it green screened out because
so we're going to move right along to the next movie that you guys may or may not have known was a comic book or based on a comic book, but there's a reason you probably didn't. 1999 gave us a little movie called Mystery Men. I love this movie so much. Great, it is a weird freaking movie. It's based.
Haven't seen it yet.
Really, you should. This again is. Do not think standard.
Are you a fan of Smash Mouth? Because you will be.
You will be by the end of this. Yeah. This is not your standard comic book movie, and you will appreciate the hell out of it, Kev. Yep. You just will. It's a comedy, but it's also dark humor, and trust me, you will love this movie.
It's got Paul Rubens in it.
Paul Rubens is in it. We're going to talk about that. A lot of people are in it, as you can see from that photo. This is based on Bob Burden's Flaming Carrot comics, believe it or not, where the Flaming Carrot would become the leader of a superhero group called the Mystery Men, which is a group that would go on to be in the film. So, yeah, that's where they came from. Like it was just the Flaming Carrot, which is a real comic. It's so you already can see where the kind of humor comes from. So I want to talk a little bit about the movie, though. The movie stars Ben Stiller. There's a little bit more of the Mystery Men. So the movie stars Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo, William H. Macy, Hank Azaria, and as you said, Paul Rubin.
The late great Paul Rubens.
Yeah. And other people. Like I shouldn't just leave it there. What's his name? Kel
Mitchell
is in this as well. Kel Mitchell. Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell. Sorry, my bad. Kenan and
was
Kel.
Like Good Burger time too.
It was right after, shortly after. I have to stop and go because Kenan and Kel. I have to go. Which one's Kenan? Which one's Kel? Because it's like my niece's name, Megan and Morgan. It took me years to get them right. I don't know why. It's very confusing. Yeah, he's in it, and he's great in it. And like, I've always wondered why we don't get to see him in more stuff.
Well, because he's invisible.
He is so good in this. He's an invisible. He turns invisible, Kev. But the thing is, he can only turn invisible if nobody's looking at him, and he can't look at himself. And people are like, "Well, how do you know you're invisible?" Then he's like, "I can just feel it." Dude, we get great characters in this movie, like the shoveler.
He shovels
the bowler, the spleen.
The spleen. God,
Spleen.
he's so fucking. That's Paul Rubens, by the way.
Blue Raja. He throws forks,
Beautiful.
which is Hank Azaria, which is in and of itself so good. Unfortunately, we get a very brief cameo of Dane Cook.
Yeah, and Doug Jones.
Waffle.
Doug Jones is in it too.
Um,
He's the pencil guy or something like that.
I love this movie so much, man.
It's so good.
It didn't do that well, I think, because people just didn't get the dark humor.
Yeah.
And they were expecting something else. Oddly enough, though, it has a very Batman '89 look to it. It really does.
It really does. Yeah.
The aesthetic behind it is very Batman '89. But again, I think people were expecting like a hero movie, and it's not. So Janine Garofalo is the bowler, and she has a haunted bowling ball with like her dad's head in
It's
it.
her dad's skull. Yeah.
And she throws it. It like flies around.
And they still sell bowling balls with a human skull in it from this movie.
Yes.
Still sell them in bowling alleys.
I know this is going to be a little off. Have you, what's the movie where Bill Murray and, they're
Kingpin?
bowlers? Kingpin. Did you know the bowling ball for that wasn't designed for him? They found a bowling ball with a rose in it and thought, yeah, this is perfect. This is what someone like him would have. I just thought that was awesome. But this one, it was designed for her.
Yeah.
The characters are great, man. It's a silly storyline. Oh God, I can't think of his name. What's his face plays this? Greg Kinnear, right?
Yeah.
Greg Kinnear plays this superhero.
He's like the
that
good
everybody
superhero.
Loves. He's a dick.
And
he's
guys
got
are
all
the
these
losers.
corporate sponsor patches all over his uniform. And he gets kidnapped by the bad guy, and they're the like losers, and they have to go rescue him. And I'm not going to say anything else, Kev, because you just sort of need to.
I'm going to have to check it out. Yeah.
And it's just humor. I love Ben Stiller's like, well, I mean, what's my power? I just get mad and go, that's it. I just get mad.
Yeah. This movie is the reason why I say, "Oh, dang." That's the one line that sticks out from Greg Kinnear. He gets like prank darted or some point.
Oh yeah.
Oh dang.
William H. Macy.
Oh dang.
I shovel well. He's the shoveler.
Yeah.
Honestly,
you get to see like the day-to-day life of superheroes that just don't get any respect even from their their significant others.
His costume is actually really cool, by the way. William H. Macy's costume is and the Sphinx. You're just gonna say it backwards. That's all you do. You just say I love it. It's so good. Check it out. You guys won't be let down. Mystery Men 1999. I think it's apparent that Matt and I love this film.
Yeah. And again, Smash Mouth, like this and Shrek are why you know the song All Star more than any other Smash Mouth song.
Yeah. This was even.
They're on both
Shrek,
soundtracks.
So. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to the next. I think Matt has a couple more images. There's the shoveler.
There's that. The bowling ball.
The spleen and
whose power is farting, by the way.
Spleen. All right, so we're gonna move on to 1994, The Mask. This is a great film. Also, now this one, unlike the rest of Gangbusters, directed by Chuck Russell and starring Jim Carrey alongside Cameron Diaz. So this film, oh God, she was hot in this movie.
And this is the reaction you have when you see Cameron Diaz,
especially in that red dress that she was in.
This film was based off a Dark Horse comic again, and it's about a guy named Stanley Ipkiss, a down on his luck fella who stumbles across an ancient mask that embodies Loki, the god of mischief.
That'd be
when
a
he puts
great
it on,
crossover, by the way.
Wouldn't it though?
This in the
MC. I've thought
just
about
Tom
that.
Hiddleston shows up and takes it back. He's like, I've been looking for this.
Because at this point, when this came out, we weren't MCU. It didn't exist. So Loki, hearing the name Loki, we didn't think anything of it. But anyway, he puts on the mask and he becomes a cartoonish character that's capable of all sorts of hijinks and can kind of do what he thinks. Like I said, this film was a massive success in the box, thanks in part to the groundbreaking effects of the movie, which were handled by Industrial Lights and Magic. Unlike some of the other movies, the CG in this movie is still great and holds up. Of course, it's supposed to be a little cartoony.
Yeah. Right.
So it kind of works.
So they had a little flexibility there, but it's still very good CG.
It's Jim Carrey. There was a lot of flexibility. don't know if you,
It was,
his
it was
face.
double jointed. I don't know how
We're
much
not
of it
even
was actually
sure.
CG.
We're not even sure if that was CGI, right?
Have you seen him talk with his butt? Come on.
I have. So here's the thing about The Mask, because a lot of people asked it, like they wanted to do a sequel right away. The problem is he had done Ace Ventura 2, and he came out and stated, this is so weird to me, that he didn't care much for playing the same character twice, which is weird because there's a Dumb and Dumber,
Mhm.
but whatever. So they shelved it. They shelved doing a sequel to The Mask. They wanted to do it because it made a butt ton of money and people loved it, but they shelved doing it until the horrendous Son of the Mask came out. Just don't listen to me. Don't. If you meet
You
anybody
can't
that
hear me
tells
shaking
you,
my head to tell you don't as well.
if you meet anybody that says it's not
Also,
that bad,
don't watch
stop
Son
speaking
of
to
Ace Ventura or whatever that is. The kid Ace Ventura. Like, come on.
yeah, don't do that. But that, you know what, that's still probably better than Son of the Mask. Listen, Son of the Mask is bad. Jamie Kennedy made some really bad choices, and it was
Mm.
one. It's just not good. Now, the comic book series was created by a man named Doug Mankey and another man named John Arcudi. And it ran as a limited series trilogy. The Mask Returns, and The Mask Strikes Back. And those ran from 1991 to 1995. They stated the character was created as an amalgamation of several different comic book and movie villains. And those villains were Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the Green Goblin, and Freddy Krueger. That's who they, oh, and Joker. I'm sorry, and Joker. And when you look at Green Goblin, you totally see the mask. And when you
Mhm.
think about the goofy attitude, you can see Joker and Freddy. And
Yeah.
obviously Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because he goes from being a normal guy to a crazy guy. The
Right.
thing that you
And
need
he
to
can
keep
only
in mind,
somewhat control it as well.
okay, so that's very important because what you need to keep in mind is how drastically different the comic books and the movie versions were. So in the comics, when you wear the mask, you don't know who you're going to become. For example, Stanley in the comics is not necessarily a good dude. He mistreats the hell out of his girlfriend. He goes after people he doesn't like just because he doesn't like them, not because they're gang members. They pissed him off, so he fucking goes after him. He kills cops. I mean, like, he is not a good dude. He's then shot by his girlfriend, who hands the mask to a cop who uses it to fight local mob bosses, but he even has trouble controlling himself, and he nearly kills his friend because of it. So the mask, again, it's Loki, it's the god of mischief. So while it's taking on some of your personality traits, it's amplifying who you are inside. If you remember in the movie, when the bad guy wears the mask, he doesn't change that much. He just becomes big, but his personality and his attitude doesn't change much from who he is because it's who he is. But it kind of finds your inner shit and like brings it out. So comics much darker once again. So I just got to ask you guys, do you remember seeing this movie, like going to the theater and see, because I know you both have seen it. I'm not
Yeah.
even going to
Mhm.
question that. Do you
It was-
remember going and seeing this movie?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't go to the theater to see it. I think I just saw it on TV
You're so weird.
because yeah, yeah,
I don't believe in theaters.
yeah.
I was trying to think of that the other day, and all the years I've known you, I'm like, I can only recall going to the movies with you like maybe 3 times.
Yeah, 3, 4, something like that.
Probably not much more than that. And
Yeah,
I've known you for a while, man. I've known you for like
yeah,
20 years.
did pretty much. Yeah,
Seems like you guys need to hang out more.
No, he just doesn't
Go to a
go.
theater.
The only place he'll go with me is to drink. What? Wait, what's that say about me?
Hmm.
He's like,
What's that
Jason,
say
I'll
about
hang out
both
with
of
you,
you?
but I
Jeez.
gotta have a drink.
yeah. Alcoholism. Anyway.
Matt, do you remember seeing this? I'm sure you saw this.
Oh yeah, this was prime Jim Carrey time, and
Mm.
I was a big Jim Carrey fan at the time. Still am. I think he's great. He's developed a lot as an actor, and some of his like more dramatic, darker roles that he's taken. If you've never seen the show Kidding, I absolutely recommend that. It's fantastic. It's if you've never seen it, it's a show about where Jim Carrey plays like a Mr. Rogers type character, but he's going through the loss of a child and the subsequent, pending divorce and everything. And
damn.
it's
Then he finds a
really
mask.
dark, but it's really, really good.
He finds a mask, puts it on.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, it's
No,
funny that you say
it's
that 'cause
fantastic. It's really
so
good.
this was the movie that kind of set his movie career off.
Mhm.
Ace Ventura was the one. When he
Yeah.
made Ace Ventura, everybody went nuts, and then The Mask, and it was like everybody was on board. But what we only knew him as this comedic actor, this
Yeah.
goofy,
In Living
in
Color.
Living Color, and
Mm.
if you'd seen his stand up, he's all over the place. He's so much fun to watch. But yeah, later he would show that he's not just comedic. He has acting chops. He's a good dramatic. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a great movie.
So good.
Man on the Moon, I mean, he
Yeah.
nails that in my opinion. Like,
Which, I mean,
who else could have done that? You know?
yeah, I can't think of anybody else who would have played Andy Kaufman better at the time, at least. So,
No,
no.
I can't think of
but-
anybody now that
True.
did as good a job as him.
but
In The
yeah,
Majestic, I actually like The Majestic. I know.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to The Mask, this is actually the first album I bought on CD. Was the soundtrack for The Mask.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds like Matt.
I mean, it had Harry Connick Jr. on it. That's
Just
mostly what I remember.
We always joke on this show. It's like with Matt and soundtracks, man. It's just
Yeah.
the thing. He's very,
Well,
it's a great movie.
that's how they sold movies a lot of times. Was like they would put songs from the soundtrack out
yeah,
as
Well, we've talked
singles, and
about
you'd
that,
put it out
yeah.
on MTV.
It used to
and
be a big
it would tie
selling
into the
point
movie. Yeah.
for movies back in the day was the soundtrack. They don't do that so much anymore. They'll
Yeah.
have songs, this is
Right.
this,
But it's all classic rock shit that came out in the 70s.
Mhm.
I mean, okay. So going back to earlier we were talking about, I just saw Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and the one thing I noticed about every single trailer, it had a classic rock song playing in the trailer in every one of them.
Yeah,
No
actually,
matter what time period the movie took place in.
what's driving me nuts right now is if you watch the trailer for Fall Guy, which I want to see. By
That
the
was
way.
one of the trailers. That
It
they played.
plays any way you want it. That's the way you get it. And then if you watch the new trailer for Daredevil, any way you want it, that's the way you get it. Same damn song in both trailers now. So you're right. You're totally right. Both those movies look great, by the way. But
Yeah.
Fall Guy, based off an 80s series. If you guys didn't know it, just saying.
That looked fun, by the way. Yeah, I want to check it
It
out.
does. It looks like a lot of fun. And if you guys want my thoughts and opinions on the remake of Roadhouse, meh.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to the next movie. We have a couple more to talk about. We won't get too in depth on some of these, but the next one we're going to go to is 1994, another Dark Horse Comics, and this one is Time Cop, 1994, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mia Sara, who gets naked in it, and Ron Silver. This is the story of a cop who's offered a job with the Time Enforcement Commission to hunt down people who use time travel to hop into the past and commit crimes. Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to take the job, but someone busts into his house, nearly kills him, but he does really cool splits across the counter to stop it.
Every time I see that scene, my nuts just kind of like
He's in his
shrivel up.
undies too.
Oh,
they
that's
don't
from
shoot
this?
him. Yeah,
I've never seen Time
Mhm.
Cop, for the
yeah.
record.
Oh, it's actually a good movie. You should check it out. It's actually
Yeah,
not
it's pretty good.
They
Okay.
do kill his wife, however. They don't kill him, but they kill his wife. So now we jump forward from 1994 to 2004, where he has become a time cop. So basically, what happens in this movie is people travel back in time and they just commit crimes, man. Like there's a guy that goes back to the stock market days and he, just shit like that. So he's hired to go back and catch him and pull him forward. So in this movie, he uncovers a political plot. He catches some bad guys. We need a badass hero, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is right on time. That's not a line from the movie. I wrote that. So the movie is actually really fun. And it did decent at the box office. It actually did decent at the box office. So the comic book was a 3-part story that ran from August through October 1992.
Cyclops
called
look mad.
Time Clops. Yeah.
Time Clops. It's not that similar.
We both made a Cyclops joke. That's great.
I unfortunately did not, and I apologize for this, didn't write down the first name, but the story was created by Richardson, somebody named something Richardson, written by Verheiden and drawn by Ron Randall. I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know this. There was
Mike
a
Richardson.
what is it?
Mike Richardson.
Mike Richardson. There was a 9-episode TV series released of this in 1997. They tried to do
That
it.
I did
Really?
know. Yep.
I didn't remember that.
Well, it's on Fox or something like that.
Probably.
But
Let me see.
there was
I'll look at
also
that up too.
there's also a sequel
Series.
to this that came out straight to video in 2003 that starred Jason Scott Lee
Dude, if it was on Fox.
in the main role. What the
I'm
series?
looking it
It
up.
probably
Oh, it
was.
was on ABC actually.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It didn't even last a full season. It was only 9 episodes. I never saw it, so I
Yeah.
don't know if it was any good or
1997 and 1998.
But in 2003, they did a sequel that starred Jason Scott Lee. If you don't remember who Jason Scott Lee is, he played Bruce Lee in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Oh, okay.
Then he was also in the movie Soldier as
Any
like
relation?
the bad guy Soldier. Nope, no relation whatsoever.
Oh, he's also Mowgli in the Jungle Book. The
Yeah,
live
he's
action
great.
Jungle Book.
I like Jason Scott Lee, and I always wanted to see him do more. And he slips in every once in a while. You'll see him, but I never saw the sequel, and I never saw the series. But I will say, Time Cop is a fun movie. It's very Jean-Claude Van Damme, but Jean-Claude Van Damme with a good plot. So I mean, Jean-Claude,
which is rare. Yeah,
Jean-Claude's playing Jean-Claude. I don't know
it
if we
brings
have
the Jean-Claude Van Damage.
I think we do because you need to go and see the Jean-Claude hairdo. So there he is in Time Cop. I mean, he's very much Jean-Claude Van Damme. But this is at the peak of Van Dammeism, you know, and he was uber popular. And this movie, it did okay. It did all right at the box office. This movie did not fail. This is a movie you can sit down on a Saturday afternoon and still watch and still enjoy. So
Right.
you should
I
definitely
might
check
have
it
to
out.
do that.
I mean, it is, you get all the cheesy, like there's a scene where these guys are running through the mall trying to steal something and he lifts his foot up and holds it in front of the guy's face. And he's like, what does it say? And the guy goes, Wolverine. He goes, read between the lines. He goes, you're going to kick my ass or something like that. Like it's very Jean-Claude, but the plot behind it is actually good. Plus it's Ron Silver, and Ron Silver's great. And, you know, check out Time Cop. All right, so we're going to move forward now 1 year. We're going to jump to 1995. We're going to talk about a movie I have a feeling that Matt is a big fan of. I'm curious if Kevin has seen it. We're going to talk about Tank Girl from 1995.
Seen it.
Good. Okay. Because this is going to be a fun one to talk about. This movie stars Lori Petty, Naomi Watts, Ice-T, and Malcolm McDowell. The movie is
cast right there.
set in a drought-ravaged outback after some devastating event or another. This is the tale of the anti-heroes, Tank Girl, Jet Girl, and the genetically modified super soldiers known as the Rippers.
Jesse and the
So
Rippers.
they take Jesse. That would have been a totally different movie.
John Stamos and
The
then
whole soundtrack
Ice-T.
is just Beach Boy songs.
Yeah.
They take on, this sounds so weird, but they take on an oppressive corporation led by Kesley. This movie was directed by Rachel Talalay. Here you see some of the cast there of the movie. The movie was directed, I put this picture in purposely because she had so much fun on the set. Directed by Rachel Talalay, who also directed Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which is actually a pretty good movie. I actually really like that movie. She was handed a comic book while she was on set, and she loved it. She loved the comic. She read it. She was on the set for Freddy's Dead, and somebody handed it to her of Tank Girl. So she got permission to make the movie. The movie didn't make a lot of money. Critics didn't like it, but it's considered a cult classic at this point. People love it. This was the 90s, and people weren't really ready, in my opinion, for, they're still not, strong female protagonist. They still lose their shit when you try to, but I think people really like Lori Petty, and I think that did help a little. I mean, she was in Free Willy, for Pete's sake. I tell you, a friend of the show and occasional guest host, Spanky, was in love with Lori Petty. He had a major crush on her.
You know, she was kind of hot in Tank Girl.
She's kind of hot in Tank Girl. Yeah, look at her right there.
Yeah.
So this movie is a lot of fun. It's based on the British comic series created by Jamie Hewlett and Alan Martin. It was released in the magazine Deadline in 1980. 1997. So it was out a little while. When they started production, MGM announced a BS casting call, like it was fake, totally fake casting call. And in that casting call, Victoria Beckham and Jerry Halliwell both showed up. This was pre Spice Girls. They showed up for auditions for Tank Girl. Yeah. But like I said, it was a totally bullshit casting call because it wasn't real, because they already had their actress in mind to play Tank Girl. And that was British actress Emily Lloyd. It was not who you think at all. I recognize her mostly from the movie A River Runs Through It. I don't know if you guys recognize. You would if you went and like kind of looked at pictures. You'd be like, oh, I think I've seen her in this or that. Problem is, she got fired. She got fired from the set for, as it was put, she refused to cut her hair for the role. She disputes this. The problem is she has a track record for losing out on roles and getting fired from sets. So who knows? This has apparently happened.
Sounds like she has a record for being difficult to deal with.
Which is interesting because they really wanted her for the role. And Tank Girl takes place in the Outback. So I think, and it's a British comic. So I think like she was supposed to be either Australian or British or something like that. And but whatever. They brought the movie to Lori Petty and she agreed. And
fucking nailed it.
Now we got the Tank Girl.
And look, she cut her hair.
And she cut her. What's Lori Petty? I don't think she had a problem with it.
Yeah. No problem whatsoever.
She's done that for several roles. She's in Orange is the New Black. Cuts her hair for that.
Yeah, she's never really had. She's had short hair a lot, even in I think Point Break and even Free Willy, the aforementioned Free Willy. I think she had short hair. So there's some cameos in this movie. Iggy Pop makes a cameo. Bjork was slated to have a cameo, but ended up not being able to make it. So there's that. So Stan Winston actually took a pay cut to do the effects in this movie. He wanted to do the Rippers really bad, so he took a pay cut to do them. The Rippers are based off of kangaroos, and they did tone it down a lot for the movie itself. But yeah, he took a pay cut just so he could do the effects. We're not there yet. We were not there yet. But
I'll blur
that. Talele has stated that the studio went in and heavily edited the film and blames them for part of why it didn't succeed. A couple of things we know that were cut. There was a torture scene that was cut way back, scene showing Tank Girl's room, which was full of dildos, and a scene with a naked Ripper and his kangarooish junk. That's when we're there, Matt. That's when we're there.
Which is thankfully cropped out in this photo.
Yeah.
They also cut some of the Subgirl scenes out and changed the ending of the film. So I would like to see, which she blames on why the film didn't do
like
well.
A director's cut.
Yeah, I would love to see a director's cut.
That'd be kind of cool.
Look how fucking buff kangaroos are. They are scary looking.
Dude, they are the fucking murder deer of Australia, from what I hear.
Pretty much. Yeah, them and cassowaries. Just jeez.
Nightmare Land, aka Australia, just seems like a hellscape I don't want to go to.
I've always wanted to go, but
now I'm going to Australia. Everything likes to kill you.
I mean, I'm even in like a major city.
Have you ever seen?
Scary?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, let's just go to Sydney. She's like, I'm gonna stop spiders. Have you ever seen the fields that are covered in spider webs and spiders? Yeah,
dude, the huntsman spiders that are like that. No, fuck that.
Even the feral cats there will attack the shit out of you. I watched.
They'll have eye patches.
Tear up. I saw an episode
carrying knives.
Steve Irwin was trying to like wrangle in.
It's not a knife.
Feral cats, and they were just beating the shit out of them. So in 2019, Margot Robbie's production company, Lucky Chap Entertainment, actually optioned the rights from MGM to make another version of Tank Girl, but we don't have any word if they're going to do it or not. There was a viral post. It is fake. I'm sorry, guys. It is fake. But there was a very famous viral post. If you guys haven't seen it, go look for it. Of Samara Weaving as Tank Girl. The poster was created and everything, and people were losing their shit, like how good it would be.
I'll put it in right here.
And it does look good, but it's all fake. It's not real. It's never one time. We did mention Jamie Hewlett as one of the comic artists. Do you guys know what you're going to cheat, Matt? But do you guys know what Jamie Hewlett is famous for?
Sounds familiar.
Matt knows. He knew before he saw the picture, but Jamie Hewlett is famous for being one of the founders of not Tank Girl. Well, yeah, but the Gorillas.
Ah.
Yeah,
He's
he
one of the
did. He
founders of the
did all
Gorillas,
the artwork for the Gorillas.
which we've talked about. Yeah, the fact that it was their
Yeah, that's
project
right.
between a musician and yeah. So there you go. Tank Girl is a really fun movie. Like it's
Yes, it
fun.
is.
It is, and again, just a product of its time that I just don't think people were ready for. And I'm glad that it developed such a cult following. Like it's become like a thing. But yeah, this was early female empowerment kind of stuff.
And
And people
now
still lose their
we have a similar movie coming out, kind of. Just bear with me on this. Furiosa, part of the Mad Max
Yeah.
series.
I think
That-
it'll do well.
That character, Furiosa, is basically Tank Girl.
The
in
dark
a way.
version of Tank Girl,
It's a
right?
dark version of Tank Girl.
Take
They
the
both
tongue
take
in
place
cheek
in the same
kind.
place.
You're absolutely take the tongue in cheek goofiness out. It's kind of
Yep.
like the comic version and the serious version. You're not wrong. I think Furiosa is going to do really well.
That's
though.
going to do
I
really well.
think it will.
I'm going to see it.
The last one did well. I actually liked the last one quite a
Fury
bit.
Road
and
is amazing.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and I haven't really enjoyed many of. I like the first two. Listen, Beyond Thunderdome is not not a wonderful movie. It's very
Show
weird.
Tina Turner some respect, though.
It's very weird. She's great, I guess.
We
The movie's just
do
really
need
weird.
another hero, and that hero is Tank Girl.
Bad. All right, we got one more movie to talk about, and this one just blew my mind because I never knew. I never knew it was based off a comic book in any way, shape, or form. This one comes from 1999, and it is the movie Virus. Virus from 1999. I want to hit this one.
That
Like I said,
smug look on his face, by the way.
most people forgot about the movie altogether, and
I've
then
never even heard of
most
this movie, to be honest.
Neither have I.
I don't recall liking this movie a lot, but it did star Jamie Lee Curtis, William Baldwin, and Donald Sutherland. And it was based on the comic book by Chuck Farrer. So I'm going to give you the real quick, just the
This
brief
dude looks like the Beast in real life, but go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, it looks like a guy who's about to sell you some real estate.
Yeah.
or sing a Kenny Rogers song.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's got
He's in a
great
Michael McDonald tribute band.
about this movie.
I'm sure he's a great guy. We're just
Yeah, we're just ripping on him.
Let me tell you the brief synopsis of the comic. A small tugboat loses its cargo and then is forced to take refuge in the eye of a hurricane. They discover a Russian vessel, a research vessel, and it's missing its crew. And they decide, hey, we can salvage this thing and get some of our money back, right? Anyway, it turns out that the Russian ship has received a strange energy signal from the Mir space station, and that transmission carried an alien entity that seeks to turn humanity into cyborg slaves, a la think the Borgs. It's very much similar to the Borgs, only the Borg's gone straight horror film.
what? Hang on. Tugboat makes me think sea, ocean.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that where it's going?
Yeah, they find.
And then they go to space?
No. Did you miss that whole synopsis? Did something happen?
I
A
think I had a
tugboat
stroke on this
loses
one.
its cargo.
Yeah, tugboats are in the ocean.
Yes.
They
I'm
lose
so
their
confused.
cargo and they have to take refuge in the eye of a hurricane. And when they do, they find a Russian research vessel that the crew is totally missing. So they're like, hey, we could salvage this, right? But it turns out the research vessel has received a transmission, right, from an energy signal from the Mir space station. And that transmission carries an entity that comes through on the transmission.
So that's the space connection.
And then they went to okay, sure.
No. The
No.
tugboat
Yeah, the
finds
tugboat
a
is still in
Russian
the
research
ocean.
vessel
Yeah.
in the ocean.
Yeah. The satellite is the space station is in space. So
There's a broken signal here. Yeah, they received this. The boat received the transmission from space.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, they're still in the water. This now takes place in the ocean. It does. It never goes to space.
So for those watching at home, so far, every image refers to only space.
No,
So-
none
yeah,
of them.
I was just about to say
None of them.
because
Only the poster, which
might be
makes no
throwing you
sense.
off.
Yeah, the poster just threw
Yeah.
you off. I don't get it. Why the poster
That's why it
is
threw me
like that.
off.
Well, because
Okay,
there's a
yeah.
transmission from space, I guess. I don't know.
Well, okay.
Think Borg though. So they create these creatures very much Borg. Like these creatures are
So
that's
there's an
showing
energy
the
beam.
transmission
Okay,
coming
okay.
down.
It's
Yeah.
so confusing already.
It's very confusing.
No wonder this movie didn't do as well as it probably should have. It's confusing
So
as hell.
this is actually really interesting. So I want to kind of tell you some of this. It was written as a screenplay, and they pitched it to Universal, who turned it down. So writer Chuck Farrar reaches out to Michael Richardson of Dark Horse Comics, right? And then they said,
Not
"Yeah,
from
we'll turn this into a comic miniseries for you," and they did. And that comic miniseries was a huge hit. So then Universal comes back and they're like, "Whoa, yeah, I mean it's a hit. Of course we'll do the movie, right?" So the film was then handed over to John Bruno, who was an effects artist that worked on Titanic. He reads this script and he's like, "Nah, I don't like it." He then reads the comics and was like, "Nah, I'm not a fan." So he was going to pass on this altogether. But then he did a ride along to see the actual Titanic. And for some reason, when he went down there, he's like, "Yeah, maybe I'll do that movie." I don't get it, but this is what happened. To me, he was the wrong guy for the movie, obviously. Clearly not the guy, because he didn't want to do it. But he did it. And he made changes, and a lot of them. And he did it his way, I guess. And it was a disaster. The movie really tanked. Jamie Lee Curtis has been very outspoken about how much she dislikes it and how she wanted John Bruno fired from the set the whole time. Like she, I guess, couldn't stand him. And I think the movie suffers
That's
from that.
where I've heard this movie from, is Jamie Lee Curtis's complaints about it, actually.
Yeah, she says it's like one of her least favorite movies that she's ever made. And if she could take it back, she would. Which is weird because it does have a very Borg vibe. So they're on this ship and the ship starts appropriating and meshing like people with metal and technology and making these creatures. And it's kind of a fun Saturday matinee to sit down and watch, but it's not great. It's
Virus and Time Cop back to back.
Yeah, there you go. It's kind of a clunky storyline. It's kind of body horror.
Clearly, by the fact I didn't know that there was a fucking boat involved at all.
That was very
what?
Very, very confused. This movie bombed too, as a majority of our stuff did. This one was a weird one though, because it was pitched as a movie. They didn't make the movie. They made a comic book series, but the comic book series did well. So then they made a movie which did bad. So I never knew that Virus.
We never should have made this thing to begin with. I was right all along.
This was also a Dark Horse comic. Now,
which might as well been the MCU of the 90s.
Of the 90s. I want to talk about that in a minute. So there are two movies we did not talk about this week. One was, and we could have been Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. A movie I love.
The highest grossing independent films of all time.
And cartoon I also love. Like, this is still one of the best adaptations it is the best live adaptation of the Turtles, in my opinion.
Okay. But we'll see. We'll see.
About
if
the last
it remains.
But it's still best. Even The Last Ronin is only going to be one. Like this, and I hope they take. I hope they do practical for a majority of it and just enhance it with CG instead of because
I've seen some people doing practical costumes recently of the 89. Was it 89 or 90? 1990 Ninja Turtles costumes.
This is Henson.
And they look so good. And it's just people who made the costumes themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't look scary.
Think of what Henson could do
today. They don't have xenomorph mouths.
Right.
Or noses, nostrils, weird ass nostrils.
Yeah.
Actual nose. Think of what Henson could do today, like with these costumes. They look so much better than the CG. Yeah. Enhance it with CG. Make practical. That's what Marvel gets right a lot of the time. They make costumes and enhance with CG instead of make CG costumes. Sometimes they do, but even their CG shit looks.
And then DC just makes full CG costumes. Green Lantern. Yeah, we're not talking about that though.
Now, I would love, and I'm hoping that The Last Ronin gets them to do this. I would love to see a faithful adaptation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic books done on the big screen, where we get more violence. This is the 90 movie was based a lot off the cartoon. Just saying, Matt and I and our really good friend Kevin Eastman talked about this.
Just our friend Kevin,
and he's a big
friend
fan.
Kevin. Sorry, other Kevin.
There's
You
audio of
weren't
that.
there.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
there's no video of
unfortunately.
that.
There's a
Hopefully
little
we get
video.
to interview him. Yeah, 2 minutes. Hopefully we get to interview him again down the road, and we can do that again. But he's talked about how much he enjoys the cartoon. He understands why they did what they did, why they changed it so drastically. And he actually says, there's a lot of things they did that we later took and adapted for us. But I would love to see the original Turtles done on the big screen, and maybe The Last Ronin will lead to that. I hope. 2 other movies we didn't talk about just for time's sake are The Phantom from 1996 and The Shadow from 1994. I'm a big fan of The Shadow. Kevin said he was as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Phantom is not good. It's just not good. The Shadow did not do well, probably because so Alec Baldwin stars as the Shadow in The Shadow, and he was up for the role of Batman and didn't get it. And I am convinced that The Shadow is what he did to kind of replace the Batman role, and it is very
Right.
Batman-esque in a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Kevin, share what you were sharing with me earlier about a character that you always thought was based off Batman.
Oh yeah. Recently, like just this past year, I kind of figured out that Darkwing Duck, who supposedly was the Batman of the DuckTales universe, is actually more based off the Shadow
100%
than
he's the
Batman.
Shadow.
Yeah, that
I am
fedora.
the terror that
Mhm.
flaps in the night. He even has the quote, the lines and stuff that you get from, the Shadow type stuff. I
Right.
actually think this is an underrated movie, and I think it just got swamped because of the Batman stuff, and people were like, "What is
Mhm.
this crap?" And they didn't like it. If you haven't watched it, I think it's a great movie, and it's prime for a remake. We will probably talk about both of these in a future episode because there was another movie that I couldn't talk about this week that I wanted to talk about, but there was no comic book that led up to it. It was a wholly created thing for movies, and then there are comic books after, and that's Darkman. Darkman didn't come from a comic book.
Yeah.
Darkman was created as a hero for the movies, and then later was morphed into comics. So
Yeah.
love those as well. So that's why we didn't bring these up. So Kevin, brought up my next point, which is Dark Horse Comics in the 90s. They were sort of the bigwigs of the 90s, man.
Mhm.
People were buying. So Batman 89 comes out, and everybody wants to make superhero movies, right? And I don't know, Marvel's rights were all over the place because at this point Marvel is about to go bankrupt, right?
Pretty
And
much, yeah.
they're selling movie rights dirt cheap, which was the whole
Mhm.
fiasco that has happened with Spider-Man. But I think people went to Dark Horse like, hey, we can get their properties fairly cheap. So they were the MCU of the 90s. Unfortunately, nobody was doing them justice. League. Beat you to it, bud.
That was not scripted. Oh my god.
But
Side
there were
note, I was looking through my phone just a minute ago because I've met Billy Zane, and I
I love Billy Zane.
I feel like the autograph I got from him was on a photo from the Phantom.
I kind of would
I'd have
do
to check. It might be from
just
Titanic.
just for the
So,
pure cheese of it. For me,
yeah.
one of my favorite Billy Zane movies is Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. I love Demon Knight. I actually like Bordello of Blood too, but I love Demon Knight. Like I know that it's
I always thought he could have been a bigger star than what he was.
Yeah.
yeah.
Listen
I
to your
mean,
friend Billy Zane.
I like
Yeah.
Billy Zane a lot, like a whole lot, and he's done some really cool stuff, man. He really
Mhm.
has. Phantom was not amongst them. It's just not a good
Although
movie.
Cosplay Chris on YouTube did a great Phantom costume.
So both
So,
of the both
check
the
that out.
Phantom and Shadow
Shadow.
were big radio dramas at the time too, and I
Mhm.
think they've developed such a fan base because of that.
Shadow
So
knows.
so he might not like. Maybe he was doing the cosplay. Was he doing it based on the movie? I mean, because he looks like
He was
should.
doing the costume from the movie. Yeah.
Well, the movie from the costume is pretty much the movie from the comics too. So
Yeah.
it's just not good.
I think we all know what Jay was trying to say there, but
Even what?
the costume from the movie was actually the costume from the comics. But he
What did I
said the
say?
movie from the costume was the same as the
That's
movie
what
from
I
the
meant.
comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're confused. That's
Treat
right.
Williams is in it too, and I love him, but
He's a treat,
yeah,
Williams.
he is always a treat.
R.I.P.
And Buffy the Vampire Slayer is in it too, the original. She's the girl in it. I forget her name because
Chrissy Swanson.
that's it. Yeah, she's in it too. But it's not great, and it jumps
Also starring Paul Rubens.
Jumps time.
just
Yeah, he's also in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Kill him a lot.
He's so good. It jumps timelines a lot in this movie. It's just The Shadow was a weird movie, but I think I'm sorry, the Phantom, but The Shadow I think deserves a little more attention than it gets. I think it just came out at a hard time where
And nobody got shot on set, right?
No.
That's good. I came later.
So there you go. What do you guys think? Do we need a Dark Horse revival? Do people need to start going into Dark Horse comics again and remaking some of these and doing them right?
I mean,
I think they should.
some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Given the technology of today, like Spawn would be amazing.
Yeah,
to
Spawn
do
would
again. That would be great. Like, don't ignore the original one, but just like take what they did right in that and improve on it, and just make it like a faithful adaptation.
Yeah, really a little tweaking.
Yeah.
And you got it right. It's just they just they PG'd it. What are you gonna do? I think that the problem is a lot of times when people grab other properties, we get Bloodshot, and nobody was happy about that. Most people forgot it even existed. It was the last movie I saw before the lockdown, and that's what I got left with. It was
like, you gotta come out of the lockdown with a whole other like.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that when you saw it.
Yeah, it was rough, man, and I think you got to remember now, if you're going to make these films, look, even for as much as I'm not a fan of most of the DC EU films that came out, they still had money and clout behind them. You can't just you either have to have a really good story and good acting, or you better be on par with your fucking effects now, or else you're just, you're not going to make it, So I'm excited to see what James Gunn does with the DCU now. I love that he's like, first thing we're going to do is take out the E and just call it DCU. And one of the things I think he's famous for is what we're going to get. He takes properties like, you guys, everybody out there needs to remember, nobody, comic book fans, I'm not talking to you, no one knew who the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Now they're like everybody's favorite, but no one knew. Gunn knew, and he's doing that with some of the DCU stuff, which I think is cool. He's the Authority.
What did the E stand for in that, by the way?
Extended.
Extended. Okay.
DC Extended Universe.
Yeah.
So it was basically supposed to be like an extension of the comics while including it, when they could have just called it the DCU.
They're still going to do that. Only now any property that falls in DC but outside of Gunn is called Elseworlds. So the Batman and the Joker movies. Oh God.
I personally think the first Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix looks great, or was great, and the sequel looks like it's going to be awesome. Personally,
I absolutely despise it, and I think it's their fault. I hate it. If you would have taken that character, if you would have taken that movie and made it and not called it Joker, I'd have been okay with it.
Just call it Taxi Driver.
Because that's what it is. It's not Joker. It's no version of the Joker, and this one even looks more ridiculous. Harley is in Arkham. She's not.
And
Harley.
That was something I said to Connie, was she starts off as a psychiatrist, becomes
but
insane,
not in this,
but not in that. She's already there.
It's just so dark, and it's not Joker, but it's fine. The movies, people love them, and they made a buttload of money, and I'm okay with that. It's just not what I want, and that's fine. But those movies are going to continue, and they're going to be Elseworlds projects. And the rumor has it, if you have not watched my Constantine 2 video, that Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves, no one knows yet if he's going to try to connect it to his universe or if it's going to be an Elseworlds. But they are making Constantine 2, which I'm very glad. I know people didn't like Keanu when they first heard, because he's so different looking, but people really like the movie. So I like Constantine, so I'm looking forward to that. But here, guys, this is the platform, man. This is where it started. There weren't a ton of, comic book movies before this were Superman, we just didn't have a ton. There were a few, a lot of them were made for TV and tanked. Like, nobody liked them. They were
tank girls.
They were all silly. Nobody was like taking them serious ever. And we had some Captain America. There are Captain America movies out there before the one They're not good, but they're there. There's
a Punisher movie. It's not good. There's a Howard the Duck movie. It's not good.
I like Howard the Duck. I love Howard the Duck. Number one, and I will make this argument: Punisher's not a bad movie. It's just not Punisher at all. they call him Frank Castle. That's the extent of really
Yeah.
what they did. But there's also Punisher. There are 2 other Punisher movies before the MCU.
We were talking about Dolph Lundgren specifically, that one.
Yeah, one from 1989 or 1991 or
Something
something like that. And speaking of which, if you haven't seen Punisher, John Barenthal is coming back as Punisher in Daredevil. So yay!
Awesome.
I'm happy about that. So
Yeah.
there you guys go. Just a few 90s comic book movies, not MCU. In fact, as far off the MCU track as you can get. I highly recommend some of them. Actually, just go watch them all. Even the bad ones. There's something nostalgic about it. And,
Just make a weekend and just marathon all the movies we talked about.
whatever
Like
you
I'm
want.
probably gonna do.
Well, you can hold off on a couple of them. We'll watch them together.
I'll probably
we'll-
skip Virus.
We will
'Cause
torture ourselves.
A
There's
boat
something in it
going
that you
into
might,
space. Like what the hell?
there's something in it you might like. Like you
For
might
the record, all that
appreciate-
was very real. Like this is so confusing. But
you might appreciate aspects of Virus.
I probably
like,
will. But I
but
probably just get lost at the tugboat thing. So
I think it'll make more sense if you watch it. That's it. That's all we got, guys. Please check out the YouTube channel if you are not. I know some of you are, and we're doing a little bit better over there, which is great. We are really trying to add stuff to the video and just kind of make it a little more like you can listen, and that's cool. And but the video we're trying to add stuff so you can kind of
you get little facts popping up on screen where we may say something where we're completely talking out of our ass, and I will point on screen right over here and I will correct it. It's happened so many times.
Are experts.
We talk out of our
know
ass more than Ace Ventura.
We're
do it so
professionals,
much.
damn it.
Yeah.
And I know you're not, Kevin, and I don't know what's wrong with you. Why are you not watching X-Men 97, Kevin?
Ooh.
I need to check it out. It's just
I'm not watching it because I don't have Disney Plus anymore.
It's so good. So good. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and close this episode out. We love all you guys. Thank you so much for
Follow our
joining
social
us.
media scrolling across the screen right there.
Do what he says, damn it.
Yeah.
Do it.
do
it. That's it, guys.
Subscribe down there.
So next time we have the opportunity to speak to you, remember to always
stay awesome.
Thank you for watching the mixtape. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications when new videos come out. And remember to always stay awesome.